When you realize that, mental health and taking care of your mental health is not a weakness, it's not a signal of weakness, like changing that conversation, but it's a signal of strength if you can process and deal with your emotions and all of that stuff and deal with your, all of it. It's not, I would love to see the conversation amongst this group turned from mental health being a thing that you're trying to fix as opposed to just taking care of your well-being.
Right. I made it through the rough time. I made it through the tough time. I made it through the bad time. So now I gotta get mine. Gotta weather the storm. Gotta get mine. Gotta weather the storm. I gotta get mine. Gotta weather the storm. Okay. One day we gon' get on. Talk to 'em. You ain't got a choice.
Welcome to Bailey and Buck Unplugged, where we talk about sports, entertainment, and mental health in support of the Kennedy Kids Foundation. If you're struggling with mental health, we encourage you to speak up and get help. A great place to start is 988. That's the free crisis prevention lifeline. Or you can check out the resources tab at kennedykids.org. If you are in an absolute emergency, please dial 911. Either way, we want you to know that you are not alone and that you don't have to struggle, and speak up, get help. There are resources available to you, and we are here to support you. If you're new around here, I want to introduce you to our host. I am Misty Buck. I am an author and a mental health and performance coach. And my co-hosts are Robert Bailey. He is the president of Rosenhaus Sports, the president of Kennedy Kids Foundation. He's a two-time Super Bowl champion, two-time college national champion. He's an NFL record holder, and he's an ESPY winner. And we are also joined by Bailey Brooks Mashburn. She is a celebrity wedding and event planner, a former NFL cheerleader, and the executive director of the Kennedy Kids Foundation.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Bailey and Buck Unplugged. We are inching towards episode 50, which is like super crazy for us. We're so excited. It's been over a year, and we have another amazing guest for you today. We have the incredible Janet Moreira. She is an award-winning expert trademark and brand lawyer and strategist. And I know that's kind of a mouthful, but she's going to tell us all about that. But basically what she specializes in is brand, NIL, working with people, athletes, entertainers, influencers, fashion designers, sports teams, you name it, and really protecting their brand, because to her, NIL is about turning your image into a brand, but how do you protect that as well, right? So she's going to talk to us all about that. And I think maybe what she is the most proud of is also her role as a mom of student athletes. So we're going to get into sort of all the different facets here of mom of student athletes, and then professional that works with brands on NIL deals and trademarking and et cetera. So Janet, we are so excited to have you on the show. This is a huge mental health conversation that we need to have that we have not had yet. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk with you about all of these things.
Yeah, well, we're super excited. So first question we always like to kick things off with is, was there a point in your, or I should say, when was there a point in your career or in your personal life where you really began to understand what mental health was, or the importance of it?
Okay. So, I mean, everyone's mental health story looks very different, right? So, I can only speak for my journey specifically, but I would say that I really didn't understand the importance of mental health until probably my 30s. And, I am a first generation American. As a first generation American, there are things that come along with that you sort of take on the responsibility of, being perfect, and taking on the responsibility of doing the right thing because your family has sacrificed so much to be in this country. And we just didn't have the language for stress or for burnout or for feeling inadequate, or you just kind of pushed through. That was sort of the thing that you did. And so there wasn't time or space for emotions. So you kind of, I went through my teens and I went through college, and, again, just pushing through, trying to figure it out. And then I got through law school, and I kind of took a look and said, hold on, time out. Let me figure out some things. And so I think it was really at that point in time when I realized how important it was to my story, was to figure out my mental health.
So was there a point where like did something happen in law school that you were like, oh man, I got to take this time out and pay
Well, I mean,
attention to this?
there wasn't a specific thing. I think it was a culmination of, realizing that I had been through a multitude of things up until that point that I hadn't really addressed, to be honest. It's, you're 20s and 30s, a lot of stuff happens. So between just reading, reaching a point where I realized, hey, there's been a number of things that I hadn't addressed with a professional. Everyone's, again, however people deal with their mental health is also a very personal choice. For me, it was finding therapy and talking to someone about the things that I had not really processed up until that point.
Where's your family from?
My family, yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. My family is from Portugal.
So you are Portugal and you're first generation American. So what was the stress like being the first generation American and dealing with, as you mentioned, having a little bit of a wall there with the language barrier with your family, and like, did you feel a little bit of responsibility now being born here in America? Did you feel that responsibility of trying to look and feel and act American? And was your family trying to keep you in that like, the Portugal culture and all, like, was there something there in that?
That's a very good question. And there's definitely the answer to all of that is yes. So let me start with the first part of that question, which I think is whether I felt a personal responsibility.
Right.
From a very young age, I felt a personal I'm talking like kindergarten, first grade, second grade, feeling responsible for, kind of not screwing up the sacrifice. Right. And sort of doing people pleasing, doing the things that would make my family proud. That comes really early. And there are positives and negatives to everyone's personality characteristics, right? So there is an element to that I take a lot of pride in. And then there's an element to that can be somewhat self-sabotaging, right? So it's about figuring out how all that works. But from a very early age, I felt a responsibility, yes. And that can take on many different shapes, right? But I remember specifically, like, I didn't go to school because my parents and my family, my extended family, did not speak English.
That's it right there.
I did not go to school.
A lot of Cuban Americans have that problem.
Yeah, I did not go to school speaking English.
Right.
So immediately you're feeling left out. You're not feeling like other people. You're feeling a little bit, outcast. Then on top of that, there's a family who is very excited to learn English. So then you're sort of responsible for helping them learn the language, right? Even though you're also trying to figure out school and being a kid and all these things.
Yeah, you're a minor.
So it's a very interesting. I've talked to a lot of people who are first generation American, and it's funny because I don't really speak Portuguese now. Again, because once we started learning English, we were trying to assimilate and be American, and so you speak less and less of your origin language. At least we did. But so I ask a lot of people this question about knowing the language that their parents spoke, especially if they're first gen, and a lot of them don't for the same reasons. It's kind of like pushed aside, and you're just trying to assimilate. I mean, there's no other answer. You're trying to be like everybody else.
Yeah, my family did that. So they're from Lebanon. And my grandma she did not teach my mother and all her brothers and sisters Arabic because they already looked different than everybody else. Yeah. Miami was very different at that time. So they didn't do it. And so none of us know Arabic.
Right.
Right. Wow. There's also, I have a few friends, um, Cuban friends that told me when they were young, right? They were first generation Americans, and their mother and dad and father didn't speak a lick of English, and so they had to be the translator,
Yeah.
from one adult to their
Yeah.
parents. And they told me that was extremely traumatizing for them to sit there and hold a conversation with an adult and then translate it to their parents.
Yeah.
And then, that's tough enough, but imagine doing that and you are a shy kid, right? So
Yeah.
it forces you to go into a space where you socially you're awkward, but your parents are forcing you to be the translator for them, and they told me that was traumatizing for them
Mm.
for many, many, many years. And so
Yeah.
I wondered if you went through that, but you obviously, like you said, you didn't learn or you knew a little bit of Portuguese, but
I did. Yeah.
you lost it over time,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
fitting into the American culture.
So
Yeah. And I know, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I didn't feel forced to do it. I
Right.
felt obliged to do it. And that's
Oh,
different. Right.
right.
So I felt a responsibility to do it. Not that I was being forced, but that I wanted to be helpful,
Right.
and let me be helpful and let me help because I'm learning this, and let me share this. But there's an element of stress that comes along with that as well,
Right. As a
that you
minor.
don't yeah, that you don't realize until, like, oh, that isn't normal, like that's an unusual thing. And just that feeling of responsibility very early on to take on maybe adult things that are more reserved for adults, and taking them on at a very early age, you lose some, you lose some whimsicalness to your personality. And I think it does make you a little bit intro. I think for me, it made me a little bit more introverted. I've passed that now, but I think I was definitely more shy when I was little because of all these things that were at
Right.
play.
You mentioned feeling a sense of pride in
Yeah.
obligation, but then also related it to a sense of, I think you said self-sabotage.
Mm,
So I'd
yeah.
love, like kind of like talk us through that portion of it, because I related to your story. I don't know if I'm a first generation American. Maybe I am. I have no idea. I just got naturalized, so I'm
No,
American.
you're not. You're not. You had first generation American means that your family came over. You were the firstborn in America.
Okay, thank you. So my family came over to Canada, so I'm first generation Canadian, and my mom had never gone past grade 2, and my dad had never finished beyond 10th grade in high school. So I
Yeah.
was the one since 4th grade signing all of the application forms
Mm,
and writing all of the paperwork for our household, because I was the most educated at the time for writing and I learned my mother's signature. She taught me how to sign hers. So all my sisters' notes, everything. So I felt a sense of responsibility, also
yeah.
a sense of obligation. But when you said the sense of pride, I was like, I actually take pride in that right
Yeah.
now. I was the person that did that, but now I'm like over here going, okay, well, what are you referencing on the self-sabotage side? I need to know, because I understand the loss of the whimsicalness. I love
Yeah.
buried in paperwork right now, still to this day, as a result, I think, but what were you referencing with that self?
I don't remember what I was referring to specifically when I said self-sabotage, but I think a lot of the characteristics that make someone great can also be the things that you criticize the most about yourself. So I'm guessing that that's what I was referring to. I have a very similar story. My parents were middle school educated. I was writing checks. I was signing, paperwork when I was 6 years old. So I totally get that. It gave me goosebumps when you said it, because that's such my kids don't even know what a check is at this point. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I'm signing checks and writing out $100, and my kids couldn't do that. My kids,
Right.
so I learned a lot of things very early, which is great, and then also not great. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, you're obviously very successful. So you've clearly worked, on a lot of this mental health stuff, right? You and I have had different conversations about
Mm.
that. So does the lessons that you learned, right, that you began to go to therapy, I'm wondering, has that served you, let's start with your career. Has that served you in your career now working with others in this very high pressure environment of building brands, corporations, trademarks, like all those things?
Yeah. Oof. I mean, that is a lot to unpack. Number one, success is a funny word, right? Because I'm very humble and I don't know if I've achieved success. I feel grateful for the things that I've accomplished at this point, but success is like a very illusory thing to me. I don't even know if I don't know what that means, but I'm very grateful for my career at this point and all of the things that I've done and that sort of thing. I think mental health has been crucial to my success as a lawyer, but mostly as a person. Like just being okay with myself. Just being okay with myself is success. That is I think the tools that I've gained in terms of trusting myself, trusting my intuition, being okay with mistakes, which coming from a perfectionist who was a people pleaser, that's a lot to unpack, you know? So those things and being able to like, I'm sure I may be dating myself, but I have a reference to Ice Cube that I use all the time, and it's check yourself before you wreck yourself. Okay.
That's great. That's great. That's
We
great.
don't use that enough these days. Wait, that's beautiful.
You went up you went up the ladder rungs with that. You on my scale of likability. You went up a lot.
Okay, so you would say check yourself, right?
Right,
but anyway, I literally do that though. Like I reality check myself. I'll be, there are tools that I've just learned through, whether and I've literally tried everything. I've gone to group therapy, seminars, one-on-one therapy, online, in person, going to workshops. I've spent time working on figuring out the tools that are necessary for me to manage stress, for me to feel okay day to day, for me to have motivation, because we all know that mental health is physical health, at this point. So I've just really tried to gain tools to, stay on top of it, stay on top of me. Mental health isn't really a luxury at this point. It's like essential to working, to having fun, to parenting, to managing employees. Like all of that really starts with me. And so I've just tried really hard to gain tools to do that.
At what point in your career or your college, or at what point did you decide to get therapy? At what point did someone help you with that, or was this something that you kind of looked in the mirror and said, I'm going to get therapy?
I mean, I think there was a point in time, let me go back because now you're making me think about it. Mm-hmm. I graduated law school. Okay, so there's a time in your life, or maybe not in everyone's life, but certainly in mine, where I looked outwardly to find peace and happiness, right? I'm expecting that, okay, I'm going to get that thing. I'm going to do that thing, and that's going to make me happy, and that's going to change, and when I do those things, that's going to be the point where my whole life is going to change, okay? I graduate law school. I achieved things in my family that I was the first to go to college. I was the first to go to law school. There are a number of things that I should be proud of, right? Those are things that are moments I should have felt great about. And I did, but there was this sense of not being able to tap into those emotions, right? There was a sense of not feeling fulfilled. And it was when I graduated law school and I still had that feeling that I was like, okay, I'm going to dig a little deeper here, because I feel like at this point, I've really achieved all the things that I thought were going to get me there, and they didn't get me there. And so that's when I was like, okay, let me dive in and figure out. And, the journey continues, by the way. This doesn't end. It's it ebbs and flows, and we just, take breaks, change it up. Sometimes therapy is great. Sometimes, being physical. I play a lot of tennis. That's kind of been like my sanctuary at this point. So, it changes, but I'm still a work in progress and still trying to figure it out.
And like it's always, I think people spend a lot of time thinking that like when they hit the goal, like they've arrived somewhere and they've
Yeah.
like gotten to the place that they wanted to get to, not realizing that like this whole thing is a journey. Like it's a constant journey and it's a
Yeah.
story. Like it's like you're writing chapters of your novel, and then there's the sequel and the prequel and the whatever the quels come next. But it's just like it's a constant journey, and like and the chapter can be completely different from the last chapter. Like
Right.
dynamics change so often that like I learned the other day from a chef that your taste buds change every 7 years. And I was like, I never heard that before.
That's
And
true.
then it
Yeah,
made
I
more
didn't know
sense
that.
to why I like stuff that I eat now that I would have never ate before, like
Yeah.
kale. I love kale now, but before, so it's like this weird. And I think people have to realize they go through these cycles instead of
Yeah.
everybody conditioned to think that you go to school, you graduate, and you get a good job, and then you've arrived, and it's house white picket fence with 2.5 kids, and it's not. It's like a constant evolution of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
out what you want to do and how you want to show up today in your
Yeah.
journey life.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then for me, I never really felt like that, because I think because I came from a family that didn't really teach me how to set any goals. So I've never been goal driven. I'm just always like, what else can I do is always been my mentality. How
Mm.
more can I accomplish? And like, what's the next thing I can get involved in or learn or teach myself? Because I'm
Oof.
taught on everything. So I've always been like that. But all my friends are like goal driven, and they get there and they feel exactly what you described. It's such a similar conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of I could speak for football players. I know a lot of guys that for a long time they're trying to reach the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
that is the ultimate. We're talking
Yeah.
about when you're a kid playing little league and all the. I got to reach the Super Bowl, and a lot of them when they finally get there and they win, and like after the game, the next time we speak, or they're like, "So what's next?" And
Yeah.
and this, it wasn't. They're like, "I went home," and it wasn't like there was a big party at the house, and I opened the door and glitter and all that came out. It was just like I opened the door, the dogs greeted me, but that was it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
And
like
they
take
were
the garbage out.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they were like, it was a little traumatizing, a little bit that they won, but they didn't feel that euphoric feeling that they've been waiting to feel all this time. And they said
Yeah.
that was a little like traumatizing for them. Like, what's next? For me, I can talk personally about me. For me, it was always like, for me, it was always about money. Like for my
Mm.
my family growing up, it was always, you know, the success was related to money, and happiness was related to money. But every time I reached a new level of finances, like my income is what I want to say, I still wasn't happy. And
Mm-hmm.
now I've come to terms with money doesn't make you happy. It's not the money that makes you happy. And so for me, it's really about an inner feeling, and that's it. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much money you have. It's about what you're comfortable with it within yourself, and then
Yeah.
just accepting yourself and the surroundings around you, and finding joy in the nature around you, and just breathing, waking up in the morning, breathing, feeling good. When you can get to that point, I think that's for me what success means.
Yeah. Yeah. Inner peace, personal
Inner
peace.
peace. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
You
true.
have a lot of sports and entertainment clientele. Do you see this? And with regards to like the conversation we're having about the whole goal, being so focused on the goal, do you see this with your client relationships as well? Like, how does that weave into your business?
I don't think I get it from the client perspective as much as I do maybe with younger people in the profession. I think there's this drive to succeed, right? I'm a lawyer, so there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of, there's a lot of this sort of like eat what you kill mentality, which is you got to get the work, right?
Yeah.
You got to go after it. You got to get it. You got to hustle. And so I feel like where I see that more is on the younger attorney side, I would say.
So we're in the same boat. Me and you, I deal with NIL and you deal with NIL. Tell us a little bit of how you got into the NIL business. I know you're a trademark attorney and all
Yeah.
that. How did the NIL start for you?
Well, I mean, I've been doing NIL, during the course of my career. It was reserved for famous people, right? Or entertainers or something, so NIL has been around for hundreds of years. It's through the
Right.
right to publicity. But so my experience in that has always been on the professional athlete or
Okay.
entertainer side, right?
Right. So marketing.
Yeah, marketing, endorsement agreements, sponsorship
Yeah.
agreements, that's all existed. For me, I started paying attention to specifically college athletes and why they could not benefit from NIL, because I had student athletes that I was raising, and I was like, why can't they do this? Why aren't they
Right.
able to make money and become a YouTuber if they wanted to? If you made any money from the
Yeah.
popularity of your sport, you would risk eligibility. So
Exactly.
I started really paying attention to it just from a personal perspective. And because I have student athletes, I'm meeting with a lot of people in the industry. I'm still, my corporate clients and my entertainment and sports clients are still there, but specifically with regard to NIL, which applies to college athletes and younger athletes, I am also educating, right? Because I come from it from the corporate perspective and from the professional athlete perspective, and I understand what goes into these deals. And now I'm trying to make sure that the kids that are coming up with my kids are going to have more information than they had before. So that's how I came into it, really from the professional and the corporate space.
And the college, is there a particular sport you work with more than others, that you have
No,
worked with more than others in college?
not really. No,
Kind of
it's,
help out
yeah.
any, the kids that may need your help with contracts and so forth and so on.
A contract is a contract is a
Right.
contract.
It's a
So to
contract.
me, it doesn't really matter what sport. Again, I'm coming from not so much from the agency collective side, but from the brand deal side. That's really the spot that I'm in and work with, because I've done that for 20 something
Right.
years. So there's a couple of different areas of expertise within this space. I am definitely in the brand endorsement sponsorship agreement space. But I'm also, I have a lot of contacts in this space, and I'm learning too as I go.
And
No,
it's
just
changing a lot, right? Because sorry, Robert. Like
go ahead. No, go ahead, Misty.
oh, okay. So you were saying, Janet, that it's changing a lot and it's causing there's a lot of pressure, we know, with student athletes, with NIL deals, right? Like it's just adding additional
Yeah.
pressure. And for you, I'm sure you're seeing, we talked a little bit about this before, you and I separately, with the changes that are coming of what is going to be in these contracts for the
Oh
deal,
gosh.
right? Like just the enormous pressure that these young adults, in some cases, minors, maybe even,
Lots of them are
are
minors.
going
Yeah.
to be under just all this pressure. So I wonder if you can kind of talk to us about that a little bit.
Sure.
Maybe some of our listeners don't quite understand the full breadth of what is actually happening out there with this.
Okay. So I have two kids, 17 and 14. And
What sport do they play?
my 14-year-old's a baseball player. My 17-year-old is a football player.
Okay.
And a highly recruited football player at this point. And my observation as a parent is, that it's a bit concerning because, there's a lot of adults talking to him, right? A lot of adults, coaches, people that are working in the university athletics. There's just a lot of talk. And to me, I want to filter that out. I don't want him to be overwhelmed. And it's overwhelming. I mean, between talking to the coaches, getting to know the coaches, trying to figure out the programs, trying to figure out visits. If you're going to make the visits, you're getting mail from these people every day. There's a constant barrage of incoming information. And I'm not even talking about the legal. I'm just talking about getting to know the school. I'm not even getting to the contract, right? So there's so much that's being thrown at them so early. And then on top of that, they're getting contracts. They're expected, there's all this talk about NIL. There's all this talk about people making money and all this stuff. So then there's like this additional layer of, now some kids are very interested in that. Some kids aren't. My kid is very focused. I'm grateful for that. He's very focused on the sport. He's not worried about the other stuff at this point because he feels very smartly that will come naturally if he's successful in what he does. Right. So I'm not going to chalk that up to good parenting. I'm going to chalk that up to him being a very smart kid. But, a lot of these kids are getting contracts thrown at them. They don't know what's in them. The contracts are getting more complicated. There's definitely performance metrics that are going into these contracts now, from whether they're going to win, 3 awards during the season versus whether they're going to have certain statistics. So it's, and then forget about, going to one of these colleges for a visit. These kids are working day and night. It is a 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. commitment. And that's not a joke. So on top of all of that, there's contracts, there's brand sponsorships. Am I going to get one? Am I not going to get one? I only get one if I post online. I need to get my, I was just writing a check for my mom when I was 6 years. Like, these kids are like, it's just so much. And I try to listen, everyone's different. My family's different. My ex-husband takes a lot of the work on the coaching from the sport perspective. I try to take on, because this is my space, giving advice and pointers on the NIL and the brand space, right? So we try to divide and conquer. But it's just a lot. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming for me as a parent watching. And I'm a professional in the space. And I just think, oh my God, what if you don't know how to navigate some of these things, or what's normal, or what's typical, or, what you can negotiate or what you can't negotiate. Like, it's just a very stressful situation for a lot of families. And I just, we talked a little bit about this earlier. I just hope I can help some of them with putting out information also,
That's so
Well,
great.
I've been in the.
I'm so bad right now, just for the families that don't have a mother who's an attorney and IP and NIL familiar, because you've got a lot of these kids going into, let's talk football and basketball, going into football out of projects.
Yeah.
They're coming out of the projects, and the pressure on them is to get a deal to pull everybody else in the projects out of the projects. And no one has any idea about how much is being thrown at the kid, just based on what you're saying is coming at your son. No one has any idea how much also is being thrown at the kid, and how many adults are talking to them and trying to pull them in the direction they want them to go. Yeah. That is just it. Like, listen, in my house, I'm married to a former athlete, so he knows everything. So our kids are guided. They know what to do. Robert's house, if his kids wanted to play, he knows what to do. But you've got first generation, let's call them, athletes in a lot of these houses that are running into that scenario. And just to hear how overwhelmed you are with all of it, and you come from this world, you can negotiate these NIL deals. Like, how do these other families negotiate the right thing for their kid? Like, for instance, how did Michael Jordan's mom know to negotiate that?
Listen, she was ahead of her time, girl.
She was ahead of her time.
She was ahead of her time.
I could tell you, I'm the president of Rosenau Sports, so we represent, we represent thousands
Oh
and
yeah.
thousands over the years.
Yeah.
We're in NIL space now, and we represent close to 100 NIL clients. I've all football players want to get to the NFL, and sometimes when you don't make it, and you thinking this whole time you're going to make it, right? And when you don't make it, the NIL, the marketing,
Mm.
the contract that you were expecting, all of that in a second is gone. When the NFL says, no, we're not gonna allow you into the NFL, right? For whatever reason,
Mm.
you didn't play well enough, or
Mhm.
we're gonna cut you, or we're just not gonna draft you. Whatever the many reasons are for not letting you in that top level, that is extremely, extremely traumatizing for many, many kids who were told that they were
Yeah.
great, who were shown that they were great by the money that NIL gave them in college. So they felt great early. They felt this satisfaction of playing a sport that they
Yeah.
loved and being paid for it early. Not enough, well, depending on who you are, not enough typically to have a career and say the money I made in NIL will take me to retirement, right? That's not happening. But or from a few people. But to get to that next level and just not make it and just that quick, it's over. What are you what are you doing to
Yeah.
prepare your son, especially since you've gone through therapy? You understand, the trauma behind the whole race to success, right? The
Mhm.
race to the what have you done to help your son? And you have a 14-year-old, but you
Mhm.
got a 17-year-old that's really about to get into the mud.
Mhm.
What have you done, or what are you doing to help him with his mental health, to prepare him for those obstacles so that it doesn't become a traumatizing situation for him that affects him down the road?
Well, that is a very interesting question. Let me take that in parts. Number one, it's not just the people who don't make it who suffer consequences, right? It's also the people who
100%.
make it and then don't, and then have to stop playing for an injury or something else.
Yep.
Those folks are suffering because
Yep.
they've had the chartered plane and the,
Yep.
red carpet and they've had all the things and then it's over,
Yep. Right.
right? So it's not just the people who don't make it that suffer a depressive episode or some sort of, I mean, it ranges, right? The experience
100%.
after, but it's also the people who don't. So anyway, there's that. But, I think something that's very different in the way that I grew up, and, I grew up at a time where we didn't talk about emotions. We didn't have the language, we barely spoke English. So we definitely didn't have the language to talk about feelings and emotions and managing stress and all of these things. I think there's not a magic bullet to this, right? So what I try to do is just have conversations about mental health. Let them know that this is a thing. Let them know that mental performance is a thing, that it's so important, that taking care of your mind and de-stressing and talking about things that are stressing you out but it's a conversation. There's not a thing that I can do or a thing that I can say. I'm just trying to make them aware that this is a thing. Mental health is part of your overall
Right.
health.
Right.
And if you don't want to do things now, then maybe you'll want to do them later. And these are the things that you can do. You can go outside and go for a walk. You can journal. So I just tried to make them aware of things that they can do or tools that they can use, and that mental health is part of their overall health. That's really, at this stage in parenting, I don't know if you know teenagers, but you can't really tell them to do anything. So I'm just trying to I'm just trying to talk about it. That's really it.
Are you talking about with him what else he's interested or
Oh,
love for? Like, is there
yes.
other things beyond football?
Yes, yes. NFL, for the people who have people who've been in this space and who, it's not for long, right? NFL stands for not for long. So I
0.003% that actually make it. Yes.
exactly. So
Right.
I just try to, what I'm encouraging them to do now is figure out what they like to do. And that's going to be the thing that you do. Not to say that I don't believe in them, because I do. I believe that they can achieve whatever they want to achieve. But we also know that things happen in life, right? They may even change. Who knows? They could change their mind. There's life is always evolving and always changing. So I just try to make them think about the things that they like to do and encourage them to study those things that they enjoy doing. And if it relates to sports, great. Study something that relates to sports. You want to be a coach? Maybe you want to study sports psychology. You want to, be an agent? Okay, maybe go in this direction. So I just try to, again, have conversation so that they think about other things, because they're, a lot of, listen, athletes have a very special skill set in terms of resilience, perseverance, being very hardworking. There are so many attributes in athletes that translate so amazingly to other professions. So I'm just trying to let them know that, like, the things that you're doing now, all of these attributes that you're exhibiting, that's going to help you be a success no matter what you decide to do. Yeah. That's really, yeah.
I find it a challenging conversation to have with people who are so focused on a goal, to talk to them about anything else outside of the goal, because people are so focused on, like,
Yeah.
oh, but I'm manifesting. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, great. I get your
I
manifesting.
get it. Yeah.
I'm like, but can we just talk about other things that you enjoy and love? Like, because just to even say the words, just in case you don't make it to not for long, like, what are you going to do? Like, what's the other plan? What else do you love? Or
Oh, you don't believe in me? You don't believe in me?
Exactly.
You don't believe in
Exactly.
me?
Yeah.
I don't need a plan B. I'm gonna go all in on plan
But I
A.
don't think it is a plan B. I think it's your plan A, because it is not for long. So you have to have
Right.
Well, I try to explain
something, those
this.
sports that you have a purpose behind. And I just was, Janet, I think maybe we had this conversation too,
Yeah.
but I just was having this conversation. Corey Harris was on our show, was talking about how he became a firefighter, right? And some former players that he has played with are kind of like, because they feel like they have to chase something just as great as the NFL, right? Like they have to continue to chase something on that level of success if they want to feel worthy, right? If they want to feel successful. And so I think I was just talking to another former player about that today, actually, that same conversation. So I think so Janet, I love that you're having these conversations with your sons, because I think that's another important piece, right? Like you can stay focused on the goal, but that's not the only thing that's going to bring you satisfaction in your life.
Yeah. Well, it's what Bailey was saying, right? It's like, it's hard to have these conversations. And so I get the same pushback. Oh, you don't believe in me. Oh, you don't think I'm gonna, and again, that's not what this is about. So I've learned to reframe it. And what I've done is said, you know what? You're going to the NFL. You're going to be done. Let's say your career ends at 35, right? You're going to have 12 years in the NFL, let's say.
that's excellent.
What are you going to do after that? Because what are you going to do? Let's figure out what you're going to study so that you can do that after you're done achieving all of the things that you want to achieve.
They think they're going to make so much money that they don't have to do anything.
Right. Well, that's the other conversation.
Yeah.
You're going to have to figure out what to do with all of that money you're going to make. That's what I frame it in this way. I'm like, you have to learn how to use your money, how to invest your money. Like you have to how to pick the right people to be around you. I'm like, so I try to put it in the context of this is going to happen. And now we're planning for what you're going to do with all of the spoils of your victories after the fact.
Yeah. So basically you're encouraging him to have options. Like just have options.
You're going to live another 60 years after your successful NFL career. So
yeah,
you're going to have to you're going to be really bored, like sitting around all day, not doing anything. So
watching someone like Michael Beasley, like I've seen him on a couple of podcasts, and he's a former NBA player who really all he thinks about, lives, breathes, eats, sleeps, and wishes and hopes for is to just get back on the court and play basketball. And he's he's dealing with massive depression.
Yeah.
Oh,
So sad. He's got to be like, how old is he, Robert? In his 30s?
Yeah, he's got to be. Yeah, he's in his 30s. And
he's so young. He's so
And
young.
Major depression. Major.
Focused on being a basketball player at this point in his life, at that he can't even keep healthy relationships around
Yeah.
him. And people are offering to assist him, but unless they are assisting him for him to get back on the basketball court, it is
He
not.
doesn't want to hear it.
No, he doesn't. And it's just like, because at one point, I believe my husband and him were working together, but I've seen him on Channing Crowder's show. I can't remember what it's called, their podcast.
Pivot.
Yeah, the pivot. Yeah.
Heart. And to think that I'm like, okay, now I'm the executive director of this Kennedy Kids Foundation to help prevent teen suicide and promote positive teen mental health. And like, how are we having these conversations and making sure that we're setting these kids up for success and not failure, and not putting the backs of the entire family on this one kid, hoping that it changes the whole trajectory and creates this new legacy for our family. And then he's the superhero with the cape on. And that superhero complex, I think, Misty, you talked about in another podcast about that whole superhero complex. I think it was the Ja'Cory Harris podcast too, where it's like you get this complex, but the superhero is actually the person who needs the help the most.
Yeah, I don't let people call me super mom. I do not let them let me do that. No, I don't want to be a super mom. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm still figuring it out, guys. I'm not super at anything. I'm like literally just trying to figure it out. But it's a very important conversation to have in terms of like, again, what I hope that I encourage, and maybe don't do it, certainly don't do it perfectly, but is to suggest that you are more than the sport. You are a person. You are valuable. You add to people's lives, no matter whether you're playing a sport or not. And that's a conversation that I think certainly in earlier generations may have been missing. But it's also, sports is such an interesting, it's such a beautiful thing because it builds confidence and, camaraderie and teamwork. But there's a lot of pressure put on yourself to perform and to get through it, and to, if you have an injury, just shake it off. And it's a very delicate balance. It's a very delicate balance because they're so immersed to be at a level of success in a sport. You have to be all in. You have to be all in. You have to live, eat, breathe that sport. But then on the other side of that, you're like, okay, but so it's really hard. It's a really hard.
Well, they don't want to lose their playing time. They don't want to lose the next contract. They don't want somebody else to come in and be better than them. Like it's a whole constant maintenance. Once like Robert said, once you get in, it just even gets worse. Like it just keeps getting and you become basically like, they own you. They own your name. They own your image. They own your likeness. And to think that teenagers...
Not anymore. Not
anymore. There's hope on the other side.
Think that teenagers had to fight for that. You had to fight to get that back from who? I paid to go to your school. I only learned earlier on the podcast today when you said that if you wanted to become a YouTuber, you couldn't get paid off of that because of your name, image, and likeness for the school. I just thought it was like the money from the product from the school. I didn't realize they were also restricted to make their own money off their own.
If they were popular from the sport. If they were popular from the sport. Yeah.
I had no, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amateurism. If you're an amateur, you cannot make money while you're playing a sport because you're an amateur. But if you are making money, and then you go over to the other side of the fence. Now you become a professional, and they're saying that's against the rules, so you can't play. Guys, when influencers started, that whole rage started happening, and some of these football players started making money. That was the big dilemma, right? And there are a few guys that actually stopped playing football and just kept doing the influencer because they were making
They're
money.
making more money. Yeah.
And they weren't, and they looked at themselves in the mirror and they said, hey, I'm not an NFL player. I'm not a future NFL player. So I'll give up this scholarship, this school, and I'll just continue to, take my millions of followers and make money and influence. So a few guys did that, but that was early in the process. And because of some of those actions that helped with the legislation getting pushed through and the laws changing and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, they couldn't make any money at all.
And the schools are making so much money, but what Janet
Billions
is they work from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., but not allowed to make money off their own YouTube account. Come on, man, that's crazy.
Well, I mean, yeah, and then this whole like kids shouldn't get paid. I'm like, really? Okay. But that goes back to what you were saying, Bailey. It's the system, right? It's the system of sports.
Yeah.
The system of sports doesn't care about the mental wellness of their athletes.
Right.
That's just what it is. And
I think more coaches need to have more responsibility in
100%
mental health part. And it should be mental health should be a part of the curriculum in schools. So they should have a class on it, teach kids about mental health, just like they have. You're in school, and you're taking sex ed. I don't know if that's still a thing, but mental health should certainly be a part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
That's
I think it is a responsibility of, the overall system to, incorporate this as a part of their training.
Yeah.
So what would you like to see, Janet, happen within this system? Like what
that's it.
Would you like to see?
Yeah, that's it. I would like to see mental wellness recovery being part of training and not just a thing that they do on the side, but just like they have to eat well, just like they have to train and work out, there has to be time for recovery and reset and mental wellness. It has to be part of it. That's what makes a holistic person. So that to me would be the win, is if programs started incorporating that more. And it's one of the questions I ask actually when I go to schools and visit, is whether or not there's a mental performance coach, whether there's yoga, is there recovery?
In the NFL, they have the mental health, cover. They have therapists. Each team is not so much talked about or even covered in college. And it's not like they encourage the kids to step up and come. It's not like they have a class or they talk to them and say, hey, if anybody's dealing with anything, we have mental health therapists. No, these kids they just came out of high school. You know what I mean? And they're trying to play. They put an emphasis so much on being great and working hard and giving it all for your school, giving it up for the school, that the kids don't want to show any weakness because they feel like it takes away from their opportunity to play. So it's very hard to.
You said it.
Yeah, it's very hard to create this image of how you're going to get on the field, and then in the next conversation say, come to me when you're sad and depressed and tell us about it. These kids are like, I ain't telling you nothing.
Yeah, I'm not saying jack.
Yeah, you won't let me play.
That's a key takeaway. It's like when you realize that, mental health and taking care of your mental health is not a weakness. It's not a signal of weakness, like changing that conversation, but it's a signal of strength. If you can process and deal with your emotions and all of that stuff and deal with your, all of it. It's not, I would love to see the conversation amongst this group turn from mental health being a thing that you're trying to fix, as opposed to just taking care of your well-being.
Right.
Let me put you both on the hot seat. Okay. So since you both have experience in this, Robert and Janet, a little bit, where could this be integrated within a program? Because one of the things that I hear the pushback on the most is, number one, resources. Number two is, where am I going to find the time to fit this into my team's schedule, training, travel, etc.? Like, how do you integrate that?
I personally think it should be. I personally think it should be integrated in the elementary level. Me
Mm,
personally, I think in the elementary level, maybe in fourth grade. That's my personal opinion, because in the fourth grade was when I really started feeling pressure on
mm,
from for me. I really started feeling that pressure of the pressure to get good grades in the fourth grade, the pressure of like fitting in with a lot of the cliques and the kids around me. Everybody had their own clique. Think my first fight was in the fourth grade, right? So I think for all of
mhm,
us kids, we started recognizing that a real, you know what I mean? It's like the reality around us coming to school. That's when I think like homework was really a big thing. You were getting graded on your homework. I think third grade we were still maybe learning to, you know, play and socialize, but in the fourth grade, a lot of the reality of things started hitting me. And I think they should start talking to us about
mm.
the mental part there, and bullying started happening in fourth grade. You know what I mean? So I think like fourth grade is a good grade for them to start teaching kids the few tools to start using when they confront bullying, when they feel the pressure of home. And they should know that there's someone at the school that they can talk to and get help, and don't shy away from asking for help. And I just, and also talking to parents, giving information pamphlets to parents that drop their kids off at school, giving them that information of what to look for when their kids come home, what questions to ask. Here are some tools. Here are some programs that we have that you guys can zoom into on Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. We're having a Zoom. We're talking to a therapist to talk to you parents about your kids. And I just think it needs to be talked about more. And that's why, I felt so strongly to start the foundation, and one of our big missions is awareness.
Yeah.
I just want to weigh in on this before you respond, Janet. I support everything you say, Robert. Like every single thing you say. I think it's positive, it's amazing, it's a game changer. What I really think needs to happen though is that if you are an athletic coach, you have to pass a course that allows you to provide a safe space for your players to be able to come to you without fear of losing their spot on the team
Mm,
or their minutes on the court or the field or their money or their scholarship or their contract before you can be a coach. Because the problem is, if we give all these fourth graders, we're giving them all this information, who do they tell without being worried about once they have all the tools, they feel a certain way, who are they coming to now without losing all of that stuff?
So
yeah.
there's also legislation passing in some states that all coaches now have to be certified in mental health first aid. Just
Thank
kind of a
God.
side note.
It's like, because I really think that's the major issue is
Yeah.
we could give them everything we want to give them, right? And until these children replace us and cycle us out, us old schoolers who didn't talk about mental health, the dinosaurs of the crew, until they start replacing, because these teens, they talk. They're talking mental health. They're trying to walk the walk. They're talking about their feelings. They're happy to show, but until we start replacing the dinosaur mentality and providing them a safe space to come to you and say, hey, I don't feel quite right. Something's going on up here. I've been doing the meditations. I've been doing the journaling. I've been going to church. I've been reading my Bible or whatever religion they follow. And they tell the coach, and the coach is like, oh, maybe you should sit this one out.
Right.
Then the next kid's not telling.
Right.
Because big Jimmy, little Jimmy, middle Jimmy got his minutes taken away. So that, for me, like in the sports section and this entertainment section, seems to be the biggest issue. Is it's the people at the top, the dinosaur mentality, that is not shifting and saying, hey, we recognize that you may need a mental health day.
Oof. Yeah. I need a mental health day right now.
Well,
So much, right?
me ask you, Janet, like, what are some of the things that you do to change your mental health and put yourself back into a positive head?
Oof. Well, I play a lot of tennis, as I mentioned earlier. I get outside. I love to get outside. I'll go for a walk. I'll go look at the ocean. Like I'll talk to girlfriends. There I have a great support system in that. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now is those things.
Right. That's
So
awesome.
we always like to ask that of all of our guests
Yeah.
when we're closing up the show, because we just think it's such an important thing for us to do and to share, so that we get everybody's different things. And one of the most consistent things is getting outside. It is
Oh,
such
love
Yeah.
a
it.
physical activity. So I
I
love to
love it. Outside, I do outside every day, all
Yeah,
day.
same.
his pickleball skills are off a chain.
Oh, okay. All right. I like it. I just
So,
started playing.
That's
So
oh,
fun.
awesome.
I'm good. So Janet, where can people reach you if they want to find you?
Oh, amazing. Well, first of all, let me just say that I've so enjoyed this conversation. I feel like we could keep talking for another, another good spell.
Oh, yep.
It's a lot to say on this. They can reach me. Well, first, my firm's website is caldera.law, so you can check us out there. And on Instagram, you can find me at the NIL attorney. Also, my email is janet@caldera.law. So those were a couple of ways to find me, and would love to connect.
Well, we are so grateful for your time today. Thank you so much for lending us your educated skills in this space. It's very rare for us to have a professional attorney on. We mostly just talk to sports reporters or entertainers and athletes and whatnot. It's always us, but it's always great to have this perspective from somebody in such a well-respected profession. I love attorneys. They're my favorite. So, except when they're fighting against me.
Right.
But we just want to shout out to everybody out there that if you're struggling or if you're in need of any help, always know that the resource 988 is available for you. Just dial that number or text it. Someone will respond to you. You'll always have someone to speak to. Of course, if it's an emergency, please dial 911. And if you're looking for any additional support materials or resources with regards to teen mental health and teen suicide prevention, please visit our website at kennedykids.org. And of course, our suicide prevention safety plan is on Robert's Life Hat, which is also available through the Kennedy Kids Foundation. So look around for someone nearby. If you are alone, initiate dialogue and let somebody know that you need help. Find a safe spot and stay there, and then explain exactly what is happening to you so that someone can assist. We thank you guys so much for listening today, and we'll see you on the next show.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.